about a contest that can skyrocket your career. And this is mainly if you're still in the architecture industry, but you are more into the visualization aspect of it, and you're trying to look for maybe a company in architecture or architecture visualization that, or interior design that you could also serves you as you can show your rendering skills, your visualization skills, your representation skills. So maybe you can start getting work or a career that is more focused in visualization without really having to go into the full ArchViz industry. Again, if you still want to have a hybrid, I'm gonna kind of tell you my experience. For me particularly, consider like a BIM consultant. So I'm still kind of doing a lot of BIM, but I have been focused a lot more in the visualization aspect of it, and how can AI and also rendering engines such as the real-time engines like Unreal Engine or DeFi Render be part of the process, and kind of teach these companies how to utilize it the better way. While at the same time kind of have been in the last 2 years kind of in the boutique, the new school that is an ArchViz school, and that's what helped me to really understand the craft of ArchViz compared to architecture, which is like playing, like pickleball and then playing ping pong, right? It's kind of like different sports, but at the same time they both relate in the sense that they actually want to express and see, like they are expressing the design, they want to showcase the design. So before we start, we are on 82 subscribers right now, I think. So if you like this content, please subscribe, give it a like, and we will keep posting videos on architecture, AI, visualization, AI workflows, whatever you need as far as architecture. And if you have any ideas, please let us know. So if there's one contest that can really skyrocket your career, and it's more in the visualization aspect of it, is the Rookies. And let's go here. So this is the competition that you really kind of want to be part of it. As of right now, you can register. Right now that you still have until June 20th to register if you have any work that you are willing to present. And a lot of it is not really about winning, guys. It's just more about like if you are able to put together like like some cool work that you are gonna show you guys a little bit, that is more referencing to the ArchViz architecture visualization as far as the renderings you can do. This is that you follow in order to achieve something. I think is very meaningful, and this entry that I think if you kind of do it right, it will really give you exposure. And if you know how to leverage, meaning like if you're looking for a job opening or something like that, you could not just send your CV, but you can send links to the Rookies competition, and they will have your project there that they will store there, and people can access the link and say like, oh, this guy was competing here, and then you can have a nice layout on your project. So it gives you exposure to that too, if you really want to be part of that. So a little bit about the Rookies is not specifically just for architecture. They have a lot of categories here. So for instance, if you go to the website, which is the Rookies.contests, or just the Rookies, you just put the Rookies in Google and you'll get here. So here it's really about the art part of everything. So you will have things like films, you have things like games, architectural visualization, product design, AR, 2D animations, 3D animations. So here is where everybody that is related to digital art meets, and it's a great way to get inspired and see where technology is taking us, because at the end of the day, every tool that you see in architectural visualization when it comes to renderings, whether you use Corona, VR, Unreal Engine, Twinmotion, everything pretty much comes from these industries, because industries like gaming and film are the ones that are like upfront. Like once you kind of get those developed, then eventually it trickles down to architectural visualization, and we start adopting these tools too. So it's great to see where these industries are doing and where technology is going when it comes to that, and what tools are they using, so you could learn about what could you incorporate into your workflow. So once you're kind of on the Rookies website, here's the link if you really want to kind of be part of it. I'll show you a few projects, and I'll show you my project that I submitted. And if you guys would like to see more about us you know, like exploring this and analyzing these submittals and other projects or competitions, just let us know. But for instance, you will hear here to contests, and here's where you will have the Rookies Award 2025. As you're saying, you can enter now, right? And once you enter, you can like it will help you to kind of build like a little portal. So if you go to enter, you can submit entry, but here is where you will have to click here on the submit entry, and you will kind of go through there. There's also links, so as you see like here, you can submit an entry here. Here is where you will upload text, upload your images, and it's cool because it gives you a way to not just put the image, but also has these other tools, that is the ad process view. You can embed YouTube videos, you can add YouTube videos here, and I'll show you a little bit on how this works. But at the end of the day, once you have that and you go to the details and select the category, which in this case will be architecture visualization, you can just save without you having to submit. And then once you kind of feel like you like it and you're ready to submit, then you submit and it will be in there. So that's a little bit on that. There's a few categories here that you can go through, and also it does help you for inspiration. You can just go there and see projects, start learning, see schools if you want to learn and really take your visualization skills to the next level. There's courses online, but there's also some really great schools. And I know that, I don't know if I want to promote this, but there's some really good schools, and the good thing is like they really break down everything in categories. So you have CGX Spectrum, depending on where you want to go and what specifically you want to study. So for instance, here industries, I can go all the way to architectural visualization, and it will give me the best schools for that. So this is the school. And here's how I found about Boutique, the school that I'm, you know, in right now, because I was going through this ranking and I was kind of, this is the school that I'm currently studying on. And the great thing is like they have an online course. So because I really couldn't attend to campus, I really wanted to see other schools, but at the same time, a lot of the things they offer are in Spain or in their campus. So I was really trying to find one that was online, that offer a completely online course, and that was the one that I found. And I really recommend that one. But there's some other amazing schools out there, like Schooling is a great school, CG is a great school. So it's a great way to explore. When you go to contest, or you start like, you can find talent, you can discover, if you want to hire someone, you can find people in here. But here, you, for instance, when you say view entries here, there's a lot of categories here. And that's the great thing, because it does help you to explore things. So you go to architecture visualization, it does kind of give you this sense of like, well, these will be specifically for the competition of people that have already submitted. And this is what we're going to be doing, focusing on right now, is the 2025, the Rookies competition for architectural visualization. But you can, you guys feel free to go and explore, and you can discover here and, discover really pretty much what's happening in any industry, and you can filter it for specifically architectural visualization. So here, as you can see, because we're still 2 weeks away from the deadline. There's not that many projects yet, but believe me, like, I competed last year and there were so many submittals. So this one here is mine, and I can show you guys a little bit about it. So now that I have already explained to you a little bit of what the Rookies is, it's pretty much a website where there's a community of artists from film to cinematics to 2D to 3D art to architectural visualization, and it's great for you to go there and see what's trending, discover new artists, discover like inspiration, compete on this. And the reason why I'm saying that this one could really skyrocket your career is because from here you can also not just be part of the Rookies, but with that comes a lot of publicity. You can also, once you kind of take that one, you can also add that same submittal to other internships that you could get. So you already that in visualization aspect of it. I really think this is the one competition a year that you really need to be part of. So here's a little bit of my submittal. You start with a title, you kind of give it a little bit on introduction of what is it about. Here's where I pretty much I'm saying that I'm trying to find my style. Again, I have been really focused on the visualization aspect of it for the last 2 years, and I've been really not just focused on the visualization aspect of it, but been really interested in AI and how can I create a workflow that we can kind of put these things together. For this particular submit, I have to be very careful on what to submit when it comes to AI, because they have some restrictions with AI where you can use AI in a very limited way as far as post-production, but you have to prove that the majority of the work that you're submitting is mainly done with modeling and you're rendering it. So the AI component of it has to be minimal, right? So I cannot just go and post images of AI images unless I can prove that those were just for exploration purposes, and that the main image and the main rendering that I'm showing, or the main 3D model that I'm showing, is really done by me. So that's why I had to be a little careful in this specific competition. Is like they don't really allow on full-on AI images yet, and I totally understand why, because this is a website for artists, and you don't want like AI to overtake all the submittals, because then it's hard to distinguish what's done with a prompt and what's done with the actual art. So here my first project was really called the Next Gen Workflow, and this is again trying to describe a little bit on how I started learning about what's a good workflow for us to create these visualization aspects coming from an architecture background, not the art background. Because when you're doing ArchViz, and architecture is completely different. When you're coming from an ArchViz background, you're coming from a 3D art as a 3D artist, where your main tools are 3ds Max, V-Ray, Unreal Engine, and those are, or Corona, and those are your main tools. But when you're coming from the architectural background, it's very different. I mean, your tools could be Revit, ArchiCAD, Rhino, SketchUp, and then your rendering engines could be Twinmotion, Lumion, V-Ray maybe. So very different. Also very different in the way of post-production too, because architects, I feel like we rely a lot more in post-production than ArchViz, because ArchViz, they do a lot more, they can focus a lot more on details when it comes to 3ds Max, where architecture, I feel we rely a lot on post-production, and we are always changing. So we do a lot more of images that are more schematic and conceptual, whereas the ArchViz, they do a lot more images that are fully photorealistic, and they're more like photographs than actual conceptual, or for that representation. So here's a little bit of, this was my first project, and I'm sure that you guys have seen other videos on my channel. You've seen this project before. So here I'm just kind of explaining the process of how I went from this as ideation, right? Kind of created a prompt, I started investigating images, and then that's more like the AI images. I had to kind of be very careful. I wanted like saying, hey, this was generating Midjourney, but then here kind of saying this was generated in Rhino 3D plus DeFi Render plus Photoshop. So really had to be very careful on that. I also had to, because that's one thing that instructed me, that was like, because I'm actually using AI, I really need to be careful on showing them exactly what's AI and what's not. So I am putting here, as far as here is my process of, like I did the 3D model, right? I did the 3D model. This is the black and white model. This is like ideation. But here is the video that you guys probably have seen a million times. It's in the YouTube channel. I really recommend you to see it if possible, because this is a great way of how can you not just create an animation like spending hours and hours on Unreal or DeFi Render, but how could you mix that with clean AI and have some clips where it could be AI, but all the clips that are also come up from DeFi or Unreal, and it's a great complement to each other for things like, for instance, sometimes like you don't want to model the whole background. That could be done in clean AI, but for these short things, like very like close up animations where it needs a lot of detail and you have to be very specific, those could be done in Unreal or DeFi Render. So those are that's like the workflow that you really want to create, where you really want to use AI to just enhance things and help you a little bit. You don't necessarily want it to kind of create the whole animation for you where you don't have that much control. So here's the other one. Here's the other image here. Again, this is the second image that I have, third image that I have. And then from there, I'm pretty much just saying, just kind of explaining my workflow, animation screenshots. Let's see if this works. Huh, that's interesting. Boop, boop. Yep, it's working fine. And this is just like screenshots, just if people don't want to watch the video. So here's like a few screenshots that I kind of gave, Here's another video. One of them is explaining the whole process, and then the second video was just kind of explaining just the animation. And here was, again, if you guys have followed my channel, this is another video. This is another one that I did. This one here was done in ArchiCAD and Enscape for that. And then here I went all the way on DeFi and I think, yeah. And a lot of the post-production Photoshop, and pretty much DeFi and Photoshop and DeFi right here. Again, this one here was interesting because I did most of it with Enscape, but the final post-production I used Midjourney and Photoshop, to where I did matte painting right? Where I did some pictures, I did use some like a retexture, some of the renderings in Midjourney, but then I might have paint that into the actual rendering in Photoshop. So again, you can call it controversial, but again, this is about exploring the new workflows, right? This is not about me actually telling you don't use AI or just use AI or just use I'm telling you that there is a balance between using both, right? Like where you can still get 80% of the image from the rendering, but there's no reason why you have to stick out of AI and saying AI doesn't work because of this. I'm saying it's more about how can you integrate AI, even though you understand that AI doesn't do well where maybe it doesn't respect 100% your design. Then you can ask, okay, can I use AI to put parts of the picture in there, whether but the design and the art and the rendering, the foundation of it still mine, right? This one here. I have another one there. Oh, I forgot to take that towel out. Shit. This one here, again, this one, a lot of that was done in oh no, I forgot to take that out. Huh. Well, most of it was done in Enscape. 80% of it was on Archicad Enscape, and then I did the post-production in Midjourney and Photoshop. And then I put in here that there's the AI controversy. I put the process of how I did this, because in this competition, the AI controversy is super high. And we go to the next project, and here it's pretty much just explaining here. This is something I did with, well, myself, but it was with the direction of a friend here. I was kind of doing some like project with him. And then this was pretty much done in the boutique school. This is kind of where we're teaching me a little bit. And this was done with V-Ray. Well, of course I did post-production, but the rendering really came out from V-Ray. And then this was something that I did my first year on studying in boutique. And I mean, this was when I was learning 3ds Max and V-Ray. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not a fan of V-Ray or 3ds Max. I think as for 3D artists, that's great. Those are your tools. But from an architectural background, just no. Yeah, so I had a lot of issues with this one. I had to do a lot of post-production just because I was just not patient enough. And I get it. As architecture, we're very spoiled to have softwares that are very focused on efficiency, where a lot of these things are done for us, where like modeling beams, modeling these things are already part of a library where you can just put already they're already done for us, right? So we just have to rearrange the sizes and dimensions and it's done. Whereas a 3D artist has to create those from scratch. So I get it, but I'm so already used to the architectural workflow that to me just recreating everything, it just feels, There's a little bit of me explaining a little bit coming from architecture background, explaining them how like in the architecture, like we're serving in the way many of architecture visualizations, we're serving architecture and interior architects, and a lot of that, the architecture is part of the architecture where you're really needing that high-end rendering, but it's not capturing the other sense where still you're needing that schematic renderings. And I was trying to kind of let a point on that. I did that last year. And then this one here is like a very quick animation that I did in Unreal Engine and After Effects and Adobe Premiere, which was great. I mean, it was a good learning experience. I have a really bias on Unreal because I think it's great if you're a 3D artist and you're in the archviz industry. I just don't support it for architecture. I think it's just not. I mean, if you're a big architecture company that has an archviz team that it's gonna be mainly focused on that all day and can maintain that, great. But for 90% of architecture companies, it's not great in the sense that it does take us. It's still inefficient, right? As far as libraries, as far as I mean, it does require a lot more knowledge on the 3D art part, and is more technical than if you will be actually using Twinmotion, which is from the same company. Less control, but a lot more efficient. So this is my last one, and then here, just gotta take the audio.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't.
Yeah. But that's my entry, guys. So I will put the link of this entry in the description below. You can always copy it from here. And then if you guys could give me a like, subscribe. I'm not just subscribe, but I'm saying like support this project. Now we're gonna go. I know this is like a little bit of a longer video, but now we're gonna go to the 2 people that won last year, so we can kind of have a little bit on the overview of what it took to win and the kind of quality of the projects that you're gonna get. So we're gonna go with say this one here. This was a runner-up of last year. Sense it has like great things here. I spent architecture, archways, but look at the work here. I like how they kind of call it like this. They have their best work here at the front, and look at this. Like, and again, I know that this is more into the art part of it, and it's more like an artistic rendering, and it's part of the. This is not something that you will actually see a lot in architecture, other than in magazines and stuff, but. The great thing about this, and that's why I'm thinking it's a great time to come here and see inspirations, is because it does kind of help educate of how of that atmosphere scene, right? Actually, let me do something. I don't know if you guys are seeing this as a yellow thing, but now you can see a much better color. I hope it didn't change. I think it's just hopefully just my screen, but. The sense of the textures and how photorealistic it looks, right? Like how like artistic, like it just looks so clean, right? Look at this, like these look so neat. I mean, it's funny to have to appreciate this because before I was in the archways industry, kind of learning about this industry, I will see this and you know it will not really make a lot of sense, but I wouldn't appreciate it as much. Right until now when I'm actually looking at this and I'm really more like looking at the textures, right, and looking at how clean it looks, right? So then is when you really start appreciating that. Look at that. Like he has very clean, extremely clean renderings. I feel if this is a project in a magazine, yeah, it's an architecture. I wonder. Sometimes, guys, I have to be honest. Like, I see the competition is supposed to be for people that are in the learning practice of it and I think this guy might be also, but something that made me question. I was like, bro, I think you do this for like actual living. Like, I think I've seen these ones before. I've seen the pictures of it, so I wonder if he just took that as a reference and modeled it. Or he was actually part of this project, right? But this is insane. Look at this detail. Look at that. Reflections and things like that. I mean, this is inspiring, right? Like this is something that you see as an architect. I mean, not maybe that's a mistake right here, right? But this is something you will look and either or you can get excited and inspired or you can get depressed because, damn. Right? Yeah, this is insane, right? Yeah, let's see another picture here. I love how clean everything looks, and you start really appreciating the texture. I know, like in architecture, that's something we don't do that often. Is appreciating the textures and the quality of the materials. I noticed that now that I've been working a little bit on this in the architecture industry, we don't really appreciate the quality of the textures and and the like the photograph of it. We are more into the just give us something nice that we can present to a client and that's good enough. Whereas the thing I like about this industry is they really focus on everything being so detailed and perfect as a photograph. And so I think the standards between the architecture industry for renderings and the archways industry for renderings are like very different. Like I think that in the architecture for an archways person, like what they consider like a decent rendering will be a very good rendering for architecture, and what will be an extremely good rendering for architecture, it would be like a good rendering for archways because it's just different, right? Like you can tell like it's different when it comes to textures. There's some really good renderings in architecture, don't get me wrong, but these are like exquisite, right? Look at this, like this is insane. Like kind of when you start kind of looking carefully at these metals and really understand like that, like you understand this. I mean, you like, well, this one is a little flat, but I mean, still, crazy. Like that's a crazy metal. See that block here? I wonder, does he say how is he? Yeah, he doesn't really say. I think at the end there's like what tools they are using. Look at this. This is crazy. I wonder if he actually used Substance for this. That's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as you can say, like this is very cool. Like the quality of the materials. Here is yeah. So as you said, like the artist, right? Like he mainly use everything is 3ds Max and V-Ray and Photoshop, but everything else is all that you see here is 3ds Max and V-Ray, which is crazy, right? But that's what it says for artists. But I want you to kind of stop looking at that as I need to be using these tools. It's more learning about the principles of what works and really help you appreciate that you really need to bring good quality of materials and bring good quality of detail, because at the end of the day, if you don't have that detail, it doesn't matter if you're rendering with V-Ray, it's just not gonna work. So it comes down in hand of how much detail you put to the 3D model and the quality of materials that you're using, that V-Ray is just gonna demonstrate that. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to that. Like you see the model here, how he modeled the seams, the joints, the lighting. He probably set up like a ambient light here or something. But even you see even the camera has a little blur in here. I mean, crazy. And now lastly, we're gonna go, I know this video is super long, guys, but lastly we're gonna go to our winner of last year. And so this one here, again, for the rookies, that, I mean, I'm sure that once he won this competition, I'm sure he got a lot of job offerings, or started his own studio, right? This school is pretty good. I mean, this school has been #1, I think, for the last years, right? So if you have the means, and you're able to maybe do a little traveling, maybe definitely try to go to schooling. I mean, so this is the winner of last year's the Rookies competition for the architecture visualization. And again, this is not really for you guys to try to imitate the tools they're using. This is more to learn about the principles of what is that works in these images, right? And again, start something with like not, you know, and the thing about this project, what I realized about this submittal is like he's showing you the journey. So it goes from low to high. So it starts from where he's learning the software to where he actually masters the thing. So when you see this, you're like, oh, it's not too bad. I mean, it's not amazing, right? Like you start kind of like, I don't know if he would have won it, but again, he's showing you the journey of the whole thing when he started, right? And these ones are not bad at all. I mean, they're clean. He's showing you the process of it. Here, these ones here are starting to get, and again, if you're looking at for the architectural eye, you're just gonna look at it and say like, oh, that's fine, it's okay. But I really dare you to spend like at least 1 minute looking at it carefully and understanding the details it has, right? The little details it's putting, right? The little details in there that it's really what giving that image realistic aspects, you know, like that detailing here, that reflection in here. So really start studying that, like what is it that makes this image so great, right? Like start studying the lighting, you know, start studying like, okay, that. So when you start really studying that, you start realizing, okay, start kind of getting these one. Again, the great thing is like he's showing you the, excuse me, look at this detail, right? Like look at that. Well, did he do that? Probably yes. I don't know about this one. I don't know if these will he probably brought it from somewhere or he actually sculpted himself. Look at that, right? Look at that. And I know for architecture, a lot of people, I mean, I look at this and I'm like, there's no way I'm spending a day doing that, right? Like, that's the difference, right? Like, look at the texture of this sofa, right? They're so technical here. Like, I look at my submittal, man, and I really realize, like, my pictures look good. But these one, but when I just kind of start looking them closely, I'm nowhere close to the detail of these things, right? Which is great. That's why these people win. But again, it's not about winning, it's about you understanding. Look at the detail here, the reflections here, right? So as architects and that love visualization, we really need to start thinking about just getting it model and then render right away. Start being more meaningful about how can I add more photorealistic. If you really want to go for photorealistic images, like how can I, it's about the detail. How can I spend an extra hour working and putting these little extra things, right? And I get it in architecture, sometimes we want go, but really trying to help understand like our clients, our bosses, our own business, understanding like if we want to compete, if we want to get these images, that's what it takes. It doesn't take to have a better tool. I think, especially in the architecture industry, it's more about what tool you are using than how are you modeling. I think the biggest topic about architecture is like, oh, are you using Unreal, or are you using DeFi, or are you using Lumion, are you using Enscape, which one are you using? How are you getting these renderings? Which that was the story of the past for architecture, where I think it's the wrong question. The question is, what are the things that you need to do to get these quality renderings? And the first thing comes with 3D modeling. You have to model this. You have to model the details. All right, showing you process here. Great, this is beautiful how he modeled that. This is the thing that I probably like the most. Is like, you see this? We did something similar on our thing, on our sculpt. Yeah, he did really good here. This was probably his experimentation. That's probably not right. I really like these images. Yeah, you see how I mean, you don't look at it, but these actually takes work. You know, getting these little things like that. Those are not by accident. Or maybe they did, but like most of the time they are not by accident. Ah, this is beautiful. Yep. And then these are work in progress. This is great. I love this building. Wow. Yeah, this is as real as you could get. Look at that. Holy moly, I love that. And then you have these, and these you have these thing, and then this he killed it. Look at this detail here. Look at the quality of the materials, how every light has its little thing here. Look at the modeling here, right? Look at every single table has its glass, has its thing here, little lighting at the back. I believe that helped him win. Like, this is the winner project. Like, look at, I mean, it even has a camera, guys. It literally has the camera right there. Wow. Like I just don't know what else to say. This is incredible. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think he did a mistake here probably. You see how they don't look 100% straight. But for the most part, guys, this is insane. Like, look at the detail here. Right? And look at that. Reflections here. Materials, cups, reflections, lighting. I mean, yep. So I know this video has taken a little while, but I just wanted you to kind of I just wanted us to go over this just to kind of get an idea of, just inspire you guys to be always kind of looking towards kind of other people's images, how people creating stuff, and just to kind of expand and kind of more than getting like using their tools. It's not about that, but it's about understanding what are they doing, right? Yeah, he put 3ds Max, V-Ray. Mainly those. I mean, there's others, you know, yeah, but mainly, yeah, he's pretty much rendering 3ds Max and V-Ray. But yeah, man, like this guys, this is awesome. I hope you guys like the video. This is the one contest that I think can skyrocket your career. So, you guys like the video, give it a like, give us suggestions of other videos we can do, and